Hi everybody, this is a video that's going to accompany the page I gave you today for Module 7, Week 7. The page I'm speaking about is percentiles to X values. I'm going to create a video now to show you how to do all this. So it'll go along with what I already have here. We'll take a look at that in a moment. I want you to remember that last week we learned how to go from X values to percentiles, and this week we're going from percentiles to X values. If you take a look at this page, which I'm about to do now, you're going to see that what I've given you are 5 steps beginning in the top left-hand corner all the way down for how to do this. And then I've also given you examples, in fact 2 of them. The first example, example number 1, starts with the 78th percentile, which, as you can probably already in your mind's eye recognize, is to the right of the midline. Whereas the 15th percentile in example 2 is to the left of the midline. I also provided a crucial note. It reads, if the percentile is under the midline or lower than the midline or under the 50th percentile, the z-score must be negative. Okay, that's going to come in very handy later. It's going to be very important. So I'm just going to tell you briefly about this now, and then I'm going to go into an actual demonstration of everything that I do here. So when I do the actual steps of this, I'm going to actually keep with the examples here. 78th percentile and the 15th percentile I want to show you in the illustration. So these are 2 samples, again, each to one side of the midline of a normal distribution. And you'll notice also that I've given you, for this normal distribution, a mean or X bar of 5 and a standard deviation of 2. So if we take a moment now and go on over to the screen here I have for you, I've already written this out for you. Right here you can see I have a normal distribution with a mean of 5, there it is, and a standard deviation of 2, just like I would have you write out. I've already done this for you, and I'm going to go ahead and begin to start with both of the examples that I gave you in the earlier in the page I wrote out for you earlier. So we have here, this is corresponding with example number 1 on the Canvas page I showed you. And this is example number 2, the 15th percentile. So how do you find this? How do you go from the percentile down here to the X at the top, the X value? Well, there's a couple of steps, and I'm going to walk through them with you one at a time. According to the chart here, if the percentile is above the midline, subtract 50 from the value of the percentile. If the percentile is below the midline, subtract the value of the percentile from 50. Well, let's see how that works. Start with the first one. If the percentile is above the midline, here's the 78th percentile. Yep, that's above. You're going to subtract 50 from the value of the percentile. So it would be 50 from 78. So let's go back to this now. Okay, so we're at the 78th percentile. We know that the 78th percentile is above the midline. It's up here. It's greater than the midline. It's greater than the 50th percentile. So if we were to subtract 50 from it, okay, we'll do this nice and easy. We're going to get 28. Okay, 28 is going to be the closest proximate to the percentage we're going to look at, which is the next step up. Let's go back to our chart. Okay, so then it says, on page 42 of our text, locate the closest percentage to the value in step 2. All right, so let's go ahead, and what I've done for you today is I have this up. Now, instead of going from the outside in like we did with the z-scores, we're going to go from the inside out. So we're looking among the values here in the middle of the chart to see which one's closest to 28. Well, okay, so we see here's 30, 29, 29, 20. There's 28. But can we go lower? Yeah. So the closest to 28, still keeping the 28, okay, without going into the 27. Okay, we see 28.23. There it is right there. So for purposes of what we're going to be doing here, 28.23 is fine. I even made sure that I put this for you on the chart here. Okay, so we said 28.23, there it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at how we do the other one. Okay, so if it's the 15th percentile, we're going to take it from 50, okay, because it's underneath. So what did we say here? Okay, if the percentile is below the midline, or less than the midline, subtract the value of the percentile from 50. Okay, well, let's go back. Percentile is 15, so in this case, we're going to take 50, subtract from 50, 15. Okay. All right. And what are we going to find here? Well, we're going to have to carry that over. So we're going to get 4 here. Okay. And we got the 5 here, so we're going to say 5. And then 4 minus 1 is going to be 35. Whoops, that's a big 3, isn't it? Okay, you get the point, 35. All right, so then let's go ahead and see. Since we know it's 35, we know that that's the percentage of scores from the midline to wherever this X is. We can go back to our chart and we can say, well, where's the closest to 35? There's 35. Ah, look at this, 35.8. Okay, it kind of goes up from there a bit. Here's 34.85. Okay, so the closest to 35 is 35.08. All right, so let's go ahead and go back then, and I'll go ahead and show you. Just like I did here, there it is in our text. The closest value to 35, still keeping 35, is 35.08. So far, we're very consistent. Okay, so here's what we're going to do here. The percentage, I got to write this in here too, 28, okay, 0.23. Okay. Okay, did I get that right? I sure did. Now, what's the other one we have to write? 35.08. Okay. All right. 35. Okay. 0.08. Okay, good. Okay, now what's the next step? We're going to go from the percentage to the z in both cases. The percentage to the z. Okay. So we'll go back here, and what's our instruction? With the percentage, we go to the edges and locate the z-score. Okay, so what do we mean by the edges? Well, the edges of this chart we're using. So let's go back to where we found 28.23. That was where we found the closest value to 28, and that was right. My eyes are good. Maybe I'll find it. If they're not good, I'll just do my best. Right here. Okay, there it is right there. So now we go to the outside. We're reversing this. So we go, okay, 0.7, and the third digit's going to be 8, so 0.78. Okay, see how I did that? Okay, here's the value, is the percentage, 28.23, because we're going backwards. Now we're going out to the sides, 0.7, and then the third digit is the 8. Okay, you can see it right there, right there. Okay, very nice. So then we're going to come back here, okay, to where we were before. And we're going to see that in our text, the corresponding z-score is 28.23 is 0.78. So very good. We go back here, and since we know it's on the right-hand side because 78th percentile is over here, remember we read from left to right percentiles. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put 0.78. Okay. All right. Okay. 35.08. Let's go here. Go back to 35. And it is right here. Okay, what are we going to find for this? Okay, on the first two digits, 1.0. And on the third digit is 4. So let's go ahead and go back. No big deal here. Okay. And we're going to go 1 point. There we go. It's supposed to be a point. 0, 4. But we already know that this occurs because it's the 15th percentile to the left, so it's got to be negative. That's very important. There you are. Okay, so the last portion of what we need to do today is we need to plug in a formula. And the formula is going to look a lot like what we did before. And I'm actually going to start fresh with you, but before I do, I'm going to go here, and I'm going to come back down to see if we got this all checked out. With the percentage, we go to the edges of the chart like we do. In our text, the corresponding z-score for 28.23 is, look, positive 0.78. In our text, the corresponding z-score for 35.08 is negative 1.04. And I remind you right here, this is the same parentheses I put at the top so you don't forget. Okay, it's the same one here. Okay, crucial note, if the percentile is under the midline, okay, lower than, the z-score must be negative. So then let's come down here. So take a look at what we have here as our equation. X equals z, okay, times standard deviation plus x bar, all right? So if that's the case, let's see what we have here. X equals, okay, what's our z-score for this? 0.78, bring that down. Okay, what's the standard deviation? Well, I told you it was 2, and even on our chart, okay, there's the 2. Okay, so let's come on back. And then plus the x bar. What's the x bar? In this case, it's 5. I told you that here, x bar of 5. I also showed that to you here. X bar equals 5. Very good. Okay, so when we say 0.78 times 2, we already know this is going to be less than 1 because it would have to be at least a 1 in order for the answer to be 2, because 2 times 1 is 2. But anything less than 1 is going to be less than 2. Okay, so if we multiply, it's almost just like saying 78% of 2. 78% of 2 is 1.56. This carries down, so 1.56 plus 5, the x score is going to be 6.56. Okay, so we'll go back here and say this, 6.56. Very good. Okay, let's go ahead and come back. Okay, right here. We know that this is negative. This is the crucial point of this whole thing. If you can get this, you're not going to have a hard time. Okay, so again, we say that the z-score, x equals z times standard deviation plus x bar. Well, x equals, okay, negative 1.04 times 2. This time we know it's going to be greater than 2 because it's going to have 1 plus a little bit more, okay, plus 5 just like we did before. Okay, so negative 1.04 times 2 is negative 2.08. You're going to add that to the 5, which means effectively you're going to be subtracting that from 5, which is going to give us a z-score of 2.92. So let's go ahead and go back. Okay, the z-score, 2.92. Good. That really wasn't that bad, was it? It just makes it look harder. I think the two things to remember about this the most are making sure that you have you're taking this difference here. If it's greater than the midline, you're going to have to subtract the 50 from wherever you're starting the percentile. If it's underneath the midline, so it's less than 50, you're going to be subtracting the percentile right here from 50. Okay, that's the two things. The other thing is, don't forget, if it's under the midline, the z-score has got to be. It has got to be. I'm even going to draw a circle around it. It's got to be negative. I think that's what messes most folks up on this, is remembering that if it's below, if your percentile that you're starting with, here's in this case 15, is clearly below 50, okay, you got to make sure that the z-score is negative, or else when you get to this part right here, when you get to this function right here, it's going to not give you the correct z-score, okay, I'm sorry, x value from the incorrect z-score, okay? All right, I hope that really helped you out, because I know this can be challenging, but I'm going to stop here, and I'll talk to you soon.